Hi everyone, my name is Holly and we're back for another episode of Should You Read It, the series where I give you my pros and cons and first impressions on the latest books releasing. And today we are talking about The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea G. Stewart, a debut adult fantasy. It's the start of a new series from Orbit Books, one of the biggest publishers of SFF. I got my hands on a review copy, which I'm really grateful for, and started reading it immediately, and I gotta say, I am impressed. There is huge anticipation for this, not just because every early review that has come out for it has been glorifying, but the hype, the concept, the cover, even book boxes doing exclusive editions, we are all so excited. And in a sea of fantasy books everywhere, this story still manages to feel kind of unique and not just another fantasy. The uniqueness I am talking about in particular is the magic system, and it definitely gives me similar vibes to Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett, where in that book you can insert magic so that objects have commands and can even speak. But the systematic changes here that Andrea makes is even cooler. And that's a lot coming from me because I loved Foundry Side. So if you have seen my previous Should You Read It series, then you know I don't go into the plot too much. But for this one, I am going to explain it just a little bit to give you a little tease, and just so that some of the stuff makes sense. So we have what are called as constructs, which are basically animals hodgepodge together, so different animal parts sewn together to create these absurd creatures. It's basically the Emperor's army. In fact, even his council is made up of these constructs. How does this work? Bone shard magic. You quickly learn at the very beginning that the Emperor's entire existence seems to be about collecting bone shards from citizens' actual skulls for these constructs. Oh yeah, it's creepy as hell. So at a certain age, as a citizen of this empire, you're forced to attend what is called a teething festival, where they remove a small shard from your skull and eventually it may be used to power these constructs. Well, when this happens, your life is drained from you slowly. You could be perfectly healthy, and maybe one day your back starts to ache, you develop a small limp, you get a cold. Well, in this world, that's a sign your shard's now being used, and that's just the sacrifice you have to make. And Andrea somehow manages to make this very realistic, and there's even different groups where people are rebelling. I do not want to go any more into the plot. I think what I've told you is enough information to pique your interest. This is a story that you need to learn and discover yourself. A lot of this book is pretty sweet, you know, the presentation and certain scenes, and for the most part, fairly reserved. There are really good character moments. The action and big set pieces only ramp up for when it's really necessary and makes sense. One perspective, you're just exploring a pretty castle. Another perspective is being chased and there's like life or death sequences. And a third perspective is having relationship problems. The fourth is stranded on an island with no memory. So there are slower contemplative moments in the story, and then you get these special like, holy I am quaking moments. The skill with which the author brings the intersecting storylines to a resounding ending that was both healing and fraught with pain. It is one hell of a feat, especially with how mind-bending the mystery actually is. The characters are infused with wit, spark, and depth. Andrea captures the nuances of their personalities so that they unfold along with their gradually changing perspective. You just want them to so badly achieve what they set out to do. Is it easy to predict some of it? I personally did, but that's different from person to person. Even some of the biggest plot twists, I easily saw them coming. But with any book, that could just mean the author perfectly managed to spread breadcrumbs throughout the story to uncover. Let's talk environment. This entire story is very oceanside, tropical everything. You have mango trees, sandy beaches, lots of sailing in the ocean, seaside caves, a seal weasel companion that one of our characters have. That's really hard to say, by the way. Seal Weasel. It's very like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. There's so many discoveries to make, and it really makes it feel like you're on a bunch of side quests like an RPG. And with all of those progression things, yes, it's a lot, but it's very manageable and smart, and I like it. It really makes me like the multiple perspective, almost tropical world more, especially because a lot of it is kind of given this chill out ancient Asian vibe. There's an underlying mystery here when it comes to the story's culture and history, and Andrea does a fantastic job distracting you from all of the pretty surface and showing you the true horror underneath. So the Bone Shard Daughter, it is a beautiful book, a pretty fun storyline, some slower moments but eventually turn into great progression, and a very nice explorable world for the characters to interact with for the reader. It is a satisfying fantasy, but hey, that's just me. This is Should You Read It? And though I personally think you definitely should, I hope the information and my personal experience has helped you decide if you want to give it a read. Now I want to hear your opinion. Have you read this already? It does come out September 8th, but I know ARCs have been sent out, and I know it's been on NetGalley. Are you excited for it? Have you pre-ordered it? What about it deters you from it? Let's talk everything The Bone Shard Daughter in the comments down below. Hopefully I helped you out and steered you in the right direction, and if I did, clicking the thumbs up button is a great way to help me out. I always appreciate it. And subscribe for more if you want to see episode 5 of Should You Read It, which will be To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I know you're all curious about that one, and until we meet again, happy reading.